Hey everybody, and welcome to a special episode of The Brog. My name is Adam Josh, and I'm here to review this book that I just finished reading, Psychic Intelligence, by Terry and Linda Jameson. They're called the Psychic Twins, and if you go on YouTube and type in the Psychic Twins, you'll see plenty of videos of these two, and they're all over mainstream news and talk shows, and they're on record with their predictions about this and that. And I'll go back in time a little bit and tell you how I came into contact with these people. I was on Twitter, and I was looking at different things that I find interesting, and came across their Twitter account at Psychic Twins, and then I noticed that they were active on Twitter, so I started talking to them and just about random things, how extrasensory perception works, and then I had linked them to one of my videos that I had done called it was called Demystifying Extrasensory Perception. And I linked them to that video, and then they had some, funny comments about it, and then they said, you might enjoy our book. So I went to Amazon, and after a little while, I was able to order this book from Amazon and have it shipped to me. And it cost $29.99 Canadian. And I'll probably be lending this out to a friend or friends very shortly. But I wanted to give this brief review. I really particularly enjoyed the last few chapters. The epilogue, where it starts with we are all one, and then the chapter before that about being your most authentic self. And this is a topic that I don't consider myself a specialist in it, but if I were to say that I've specialized in any area of spirituality, it would be some things here that we're going to talk about today. I really enjoyed this quote on page 225 of the chapter, Become Your Most Authentic Self. It says at the bottom here, we must make ourselves our own first priority. That is, using our psychic intelligence to understand why we are here. And I'd like to extrapolate from that a little bit, and I feel like I have something valuable to contribute to the topic of this book and to these two awesome people as human beings and souls. I feel like I have something that I could share, worth sharing. My background is a little bit different than maybe a traditional spiritual person's. I think we all come from different walks of life, right? But it seems that my path took me in a completely weird direction. My interest in spirituality took me to a Bible college, and I still have the syllabus here, at 2001. At the same time, before getting kicked out of that Bible college in the second year, I had started attending a mosque around 2001, and I took notes, and I still have those notes actually in the same pile somewhere here. And I was probably one of the only people there taking notes. I have this note, September 6, 2002, Friday at the mosque. Light and darkness, groping in the dark, those who sin, the Quran is light, Allah is light. A shirk is the greatest evil, to ascribe partners to him, a son, a daughter, or to say that there is someone equal to Allah. September 13th, 2002. So for this 2001, the end of it, to 2002, I went to this mosque and I took notes and I studied, and I have the proof here. In between all that, I was writing sermons. I traveled east to west. I preached in small churches, and I have some stories that would take longer than we have here today to share. Going into the second year of this college, I had completely different and opposing views than what the leader people were teaching, and my curiosity and honest question asking got me to the point where it seemed like I had grown into a different type of entity than they had planned, so I was kicked out. I have the letters all there. It's a long story. You can look at my blog on Peter Youngren, which is actually one of my most popular blogs on a Canadian musician's website. It's sort of funny. One of the main reasons people go to my website is to see an article about this pastor. I keep digressing off into me. I'll be honest with you. I want to wholeheartedly review this book, but I feel like if I don't give a little bit of background, just a little bit, then it might come off like, who the hell is this guy reviewing this book, and why should we listen to him? So short of going and looking at my website or looking at the video, I am awesome, you are awesome rather, or demystifying extrasensory perception, I don't really know how to express to you that I'm not doing this to make any money. I'm a moderately successful businessman. I manage more than one franchise business, and I'm not doing this for any means of income. I play music. People who know me know that I play drums and I play guitar and bass and keyboard. And I've been able to do all these different things in my life because of my curiosity, maybe my willingness to see that this body is just a vehicle to express the real me. And this is actually, I'm really excited about this. I don't know if you can feel my excitement, but I'm like brimming with excitement over talking about this book, and maybe it's not translating, but I hope that you feel where I'm coming from. So let's just get into it. Terry and Linda, one of the ways that they get their guided messages or messages from the higher spiritual plane are from through automatic writing. And if you're not familiar with automatic writing, maybe you have seen people use like a Ouija board where they feel guided to, have their hand. They feel like somebody's holding them or they can't move, or people have went into like alternative trance-like states and then just started writing, and then they sort of like wake up and they're like, whoa, holy crap, look at what I wrote. And it's not, they say it's not them, it's channeled from somewhere else. The book that this Law of One series that David Wilcock talks about a lot was channeled in this same fashion through maybe not automatic writing, but it was through channeled writing. Before we go any further, I did want to mention that not only did my crazy interest in religion and spirituality have me reading what people call the Bible. I've read it 13 times in my life, but then I also picked up a Quran, and I have honestly read through this same Quran 3 times, and you'll see if you open it, like my notes all the way through it, which I don't think most Muslims would appreciate. But it is fun to be able to sit down with Muslims, who I have a lot of Muslim friends, and talk about Islam with them. And just like there's a lot of cool things about Judaism, or a lot of cool things about Christianity, and a lot of neat things about all these different religions, I feel like I have this tapestry of knowledge of the main 3, the big 3 name brand religions that I can draw knowledge from. So when we get into a spiritual debate, as I've talked about before, I don't even avoid it. Like, whatever topic you want to talk about, I've studied it from 3 major different angles. And my problem is that nobody ever wants to talk about it, so I usually just sit by myself. And I have all this spiritual knowledge that I think was interesting to learn, and I'm just like, I want to talk about it, but nobody wants to talk, so this is the way it is. So before I progress into this topic that I was discussing, I wanted to say that I've had 3, 4, 5 near-death experiences. The first starting when I was a young child, car accident with my father. I wouldn't call it a near-death experience, but I would call the next 1 or 2 that I had. One was trying to take my own life, and another one shortly after that. was definitely wound up in the hospital for weeks on end, type near-death experiences. One of the last ones was I had sliced my thumb open right here, falling down a flight of stairs tripping on flip-flops, cut the artery open, and blood squirting out everywhere. Doctor said 10 more minutes, Adam, you would have bled out. You would have had nothing left to pump. And before that, actually after that, was my kidneys. I had a toothache one day, took too many Advil. I don't take pills, and I haven't since, and I didn't really before that. And the Advil that I was taking actually shut down my kidneys, but because I was in such a medicated state, you're not really thinking about your kidneys, you're just sleeping. So the doctor told me when I wound up in the hospital under watch of kidney dialysis with a catheter inside of me for a week, he told me, you would have died in your sleep that night. And I had a close encounter while I was laying on the bed. It's a whole other story. But getting back to, I just feel like we should maybe know a little bit about each other before I start talking about reviewing this book, Psychic Intelligence. But moving along, the reason I was so excited about reviewing this book is because when they start talking about automatic writing and channeled writing, I'm feeling like, coming from a musician's point of view, I mean, I've had a lot of channeled writing experiences. I was sitting on the cottage. I was sitting in the cottage in 2001, looking at the sunset. I just sat down and grabbed a guitar, and that song came out. I mean, I didn't even write any lyrics to it, but and then there was other songs that I've written where it's like you play like one chord, and all of a sudden a flood of emotion or a flood of lyrics come to you. So I've written, quite a lot of songs. I'm not saying that any of them are good or bad, but I've written quite a few songs, and musicians will understand what channeled writing is about. I've read several articles with several famous musicians, such as people from the Rolling Stones and people from other bands, who have said that their music was channeled from some higher place. What did he say? Mick Jagger about Sympathy for the Devil, that he woke up and it came from a dream, or it definitely wasn't written by him. You've heard all sorts of stories like that. And when Linda and Terry are talking about automatic writing, I completely understand them. And from a musician's point of view, but they're saying, they're not channeling it from themselves or maybe some higher plane. But this is what I wanted to talk about, and I keep coming back to this point and drifting away from it, but I'm going to try to stick on it right now. Here we go. My main point in this video review, and the main thing that I think that the main piece of information that I feel like I can offer in regards to this book, Psychic Intelligence, tune in and discover the power of your intuition, is, before I even get into the point, it's that I want to say this. I think these two are legitimate people. I think that they are truly gifted individuals, and I don't have anything negative to say about them. I think that their motives are pure, as far as any human being can be pure, and I think that they believe in the gifts that they have, and I think that they'd be the type of people that you'd want to meet and hang out with. I think that they're, as far as on the level is, that's my gut instinct, and I'd like to meet them. I've never met them, but anyway, I recommend the book, and I think these two are about as real deal as you're going to get as far as psychics go. As far as automatic writing goes, as we've covered, I completely understand the concept of channeling information from higher planes, but this is the meat of what I wanted to get at, is right here. Throughout the book, they will talk about channeling, teaching you how to channel, how to get into a state where you're inviting other spirits to give you information. People who have passed, people who have crossed over, or if you want to get job advice from a certain spirit. And at the same time that they are saying these things, other chapters will talk about previous lives. Other chapters will talk about reincarnating and living infinitely in this body is a temporal vessel to an infinite spirit that has existed before and will exist after. So maybe I just want to point out the obvious here, that being the way I am, I've always been hyper aware of my independence, hyper aware that I'm not you, that you're not me, that I'm not anybody that I admire. I have really great people in my life, but I'm not any of them. I am completely me, and because I have maybe a little bit more time than some other people do to meditate and be on my own, I've discovered that when I cross over, when I die, I'm not going to be carrying anything with me except for my lessons and memories. I'm not taking anybody with me, and I'm not taking anything with me that I've acquired or any of these skills that I'm able to do that I think are so great. So maybe one of the gifts that I have is painful self-awareness. You know, I'm painfully aware of sometimes how ridiculous I can come across and how advanced I am in some areas and unadvanced I am in other areas. So I'm painfully aware of all these things, but because I feel like I'm living my own life and being authentic, I'm kind of okay with that, because at least I feel like I'm on the right path. So I don't remember any of my previous lives. I completely believe that there are children born, I've talked about this before, there's children born that can recall like the dates that their plane crashed in a previous life and recall cities, and I'm completely sold that a soul can come from one body and go from another and exist in multiple lives. And I also am saying that from a viewpoint of, I've read the Torah, you know, I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran, and I can guarantee you, if you've read any of those or of those religions, that your religion also agrees with me, even though you may not see it right now. And I've explained this in detail in other videos, and I'm not going to get into it. But short example, Lazarus rose from the dead, so he lived twice. The Messiah, the beginning, the end, he was in the middle, he's died, he's risen again, he's over here, he's over there, he's everywhere. So these two examples of people who have multiple lives. And not only that, but if you believe in the book of Revelation, literally we're all going to be raised from the dead at the end of the Great White Throne Judgment. So we're all going to, quote unquote, live again or be reincarnated. So if you're high and mighty Christian, listen to me and thinking, what is he talking about, reincarnation? Listen, your own scriptures talk about reincarnation, whether you believe it or not, but that's, if you're standing on a foundation of Christianity, believe me, reincarnation is included in your faith, okay? Maybe not the way that, you know, Hindus or Indians talk about it, but believe me, reincarnation is talked about in the Bible. Moving on from that, if you are infinite, if you exist outside of this body in a state that has amassed great amounts of life experience through previous lives, then it stands to reason that if you're channeling any information from anywhere, you'd want to channel it from yourself, from your higher self, from this infinite you that exists outside of time. For me personally, and I planned on actually trying this, I haven't sat down and actually attempted to channel anything other than music from my higher self since I read this book. But I plan on trying to do this, and I'll let you guys know what I come up with. But call me a crazy weirdo though, but if I believed 100% that I had a higher self that existed outside of time in previous lives that I could access and channel information from, being completely independent and focused on my own individual sovereignty as opposed to anybody else's, I would want to channel information from myself. So I wouldn't care what some other spirit or angel or messenger of who knows, God knows what, from what planet or what reality. I wouldn't want any information from that being when I could get information from my own higher self being that has existed throughout multiple lives and gathered all this information and knows me better than any other being knows me. So my advice or my suggestion to the Jameson twins is that if you're going to be channeling any information from anywhere, channel it from yourself. If you really believe that you've existed in previous lives and you've amassed all this great spiritual knowledge in your soul, maybe not in your immediate recollection, I would channel information about anybody from yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I've talked about before, messengers or angels, and I mean, deception is everywhere. There's angels that masquerade as this or that, or demons, quote unquote, that will masquerade as angels of light. There's myriads of beings posing as gods, and there's myriads of entities posing as messengers of these gods. And it goes on and on and on. Through every religion that I've studied, there's beings everywhere. There's a lot of beings, there's a lot of gods, there's a lot of planets. If you look up in the sky, you realize, wow, there's a lot of beings, a lot of planets, a lot of solar systems, a lot of galaxies. There's a lot in every single direction. I mean, there's 7 billion people on Earth, and there's the animal kingdom, the insect kingdom. There's beings everywhere. We are a being inside a being, being a being, while we have beings inside of us that will mercifully consume this flesh once we die. So there's beings everywhere. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me on that. It's common knowledge. There's beings everywhere. You're a being, I'm a being, we're all being, a being, on a being, in a being, being. To be or not to be. So, keeping that in mind, I don't want to consult any of these other beings when I have my infinite own higher self that I can channel that knows me personally because it is me. We are each other, but I'm not completely aligned in this reality with my higher self, but that's what meditation helps. So I would only encourage the Jameson twins, Terry and Linda, that I believe you guys are 100% genuine, but I would, if I could say anything, in a way of maybe gentle nudging, I would say whatever these, I mean, except for the instance where you're with a wife who's lost her husband and the husband wants to say this or that, I wouldn't personally, if I had the ability, as you do clairvoyantly, to channel other people's information, I don't think I would channel anybody else's other information other than myself. So I don't know if you two have made a practice of channeling information from your own higher self, or if you've just channeled from other spirits, or this spirit or that spirit. But the thing is, these spirits that you're channeling endless. I mean, there's endless spirits in every direction. So, I mean, as an example in the book, I can remember that Terry and Linda are recommending that if you're struggling with this, then pray to this Saint Germain of the Violet Flame or Archangel Michael. And they're saying that, well, Archangel Michael appears in all these scriptures as a healer, so this is a being who you'd want to like pray to or meditate to or ask him to protect you. Poppycock! I don't want Archangel Michael or Saint Germain of the Violet Flame to protect me or do anything to me. If I am infinite and I've existed in previous incarnations, then I trust my own instincts and my own higher self more so than I would trust any other being outside myself. So if I was going to ask for anybody's protection, I would ask from Samurai Adam in an ancient lifetime where he was a samurai ninja Jedi, yeah. I'd ask for my own protection. If I'm infinite, and if I have lived these endless lives previously, then I would prefer my own protection than anybody else's. There's a few chapters in the book on drawing in light, drawing in, using rocks, using crystals, lighting certain candles, saying certain chants, and externalizing all these things for protection or safety or yada yada. And I know that maybe Terry and Linda are advanced enough to realize that we're externalizing all these things, but they're still inside of us. Like whether you externalize, I externalize sound. Like I'm saying that this sound, that sound is over there, but I'm externalizing that noise when all the noise is going on in my brain. So if you're listening to this, where is that sound coming from? So Well, it's coming from Adam's guitar. But you're only hearing what your brain is telling you right now. You know? I'm speaking, you know, it's like 5 a.m. On September 4th. I'm speaking this, but you're hearing it probably in a completely different time. My voice inside of your head. So, I mean, you've externalized my voice, but it's actually inside of you. I mean, by the time I've said this and you've listened to it, the planet that we're on has, you know, moved more than 1,000 miles. It moves 1,000 miles every hour. We've rotated on the solar system, so by the time I'm done saying this, our planet has moved through space from this point, you know, to this point. So wherever you're hearing this is inside of you. So we externalize things, but the answer is actually within us. So people have said, you know, we have to ascend. True or so, we should incend, the ascension. You know, a lot of the answers that you're searching for, the person that you're searching for is you. The person that you're searching for is you. The answers that you're looking for are usually inside of you. So I would encourage people who are watching this, and the Jameson twins, the psychic twins, that your answers don't need to be externalized, that the answers for most of people's questions can be found actually within them or channeling their own higher self, that you don't have to. I would empower you that instead of giving your power away or externalizing your saviors or your this or that I would say look inside yourself. So instead of saying like, oh, I need to align my chakras and all that, realize that this whole body that you're in, including all the energetic centers and the chakra points, these are like sitting in a car, and you have your front wheels on the back, and people are saying, well, you have to have your wheels in alignment, and you have to have your energy centers wired up. Like, you're the driver of this car. You're not the car. You're not the alignment. If you were unfortunately born in certain different areas of the world, you may not have been driving the Lexus or the or the Ferrari that you're in. Maybe you were made in China. Maybe you were assembled in a plant in America. So we're all born into these bodies, but these bodies aren't us. Like, if I chop off this hand, I'm still me, God forbid. If I chopped off my arms, if I had a heart transplant, I'm still me. So aligning up our energy centers, and I don't want to diminish something that so many people put so much stock into, but you're not your energy centers. Hello. You're not your energy centers. You're not your chakras, whether it's your base chakra or your crown chakra, you know, your throat chakra. I'm not my throat chakra, and I'm, as much as I'm not this body. So I would encourage anybody. Some people have gone so far as to renounce their chakras. I mean, it's like saying I renounce my alignment on my car, or I renounce I renounce the electricity in my car that's powering it, you know. So I mean, some people go to different extremes. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that although I appreciate my chakras and you know, I hope that they're in alignment, I'm not going to go so far as to wearing amulets and externalizing all these ridiculous things because I need to feel a certain way on the inside, or I need a certain. I believe that the answers that I'm looking for are within me, and I believe that we don't need to externalize all our answers and our saviors. I think that if you're infinite, then and you've existed in previous lives, then the answer is within you. If you knew the beginning from the end, if you could actually time travel, then a lot of this stuff would make sense. I mean, time travel technology exists, I believe, and if it did or didn't, you wouldn't know about it. I wouldn't know about it. So people who could time travel in governments or secret governments, they can go back and forth and rewrite history and, you know, have a Bible penned and a Quran penned and then, you know, culminate it all together in a one world order with a Messiah that's going to reign and rule, and none of us would be the wiser. So if you look at a lot of these I knew the beginning from the end type people, and think about time travel or aliens from other planets coming and time traveling through one spot to another and giving us scriptures so they could be our gods and our deities and Mount Olympus. Where did those gods go? This is a real big, deeper subject than I can get into in this particular book review, but I keep drifting away from the book review, I know, but put it this way. Read the book. I recommend it. But the one thing I would say is that the answers that you're looking for don't need to be externalized. If you're infinite, which Terry and Linda Jameson, the psychic twins, repeatedly say, then the only person I'd want to be channeling or asking information from along my soul's progression is my higher self, especially if I'm infinite, because the answers that I don't know right now in this temporal, corporeal understanding, my infinite self damn well knows, because he exists, she exists, I exist outside of time. But in this construct of linear time, we're thinking in a limited brain, especially if we've been raised in the West or drinking fluoridated water and processed foods. I mean, we're using these weaker vessels to try to understand things. So when we leave these bodies and when we die, we go back to these other states, and maybe we reincarnate a few times. I have this gut feeling that we've all signed some sort of soul contract on some level that your higher self has maybe arranged that you're going to live 10 more lifetimes. And here you are, maybe we've had this conversation 10 times. Maybe you've been at this exact same point of understanding in your life 5 or 6 times before, and maybe you just can't remember it. This is my personal concern, is that as advanced as I think I am in my spirituality and my learning, I feel like I want to leave this place. I want to leave Earth and everything. I'm not interested in Earth. I'm not interested in reincarnating here anymore. I'm an indigo child. You can read about this by looking at my star chart on my website under the source field investigations has arrived. Anyway, I'm not interested in reincarnating on this earth, and sometimes I'm worried that I can't remember any time past, and I don't want to come back here again. So I'm wondering, did I sign a soul contract in some other life or whatever, or some higher version, where I have to reincarnate here 1,000 times? Because oh my God, if I wind up having to do this all over again, I wouldn't wish the experiences I've had on anybody else in my life, put it that way. Wrapping up for today, go out and get Psychic Intelligence by Terry and Linda Jameson. I recommend it.
That was easy.
What's your favorite website, guys?
AdamJosh.com.